to the Wolfkeeper, a show that's just about everything that you could maybe think about, everything that you can feel that's inside of your heart. What I need for you to do right now is spend the next hour relaxing. Just stop your day before you go into 12 o'clock. And I just want y'all to close your minds, open your hearts, and relax and go on this journey with me. It's a beautiful place that you're about to go, because I want to make you feel, I want to just open you up and think about some things you never really thought about. Right now, the Wolfkeeper. Come on. Good morning, y'all. Come on. It's the Wolfkeeper show. Get ready. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. It's the Wolfkeeper show. Your boy, Toriano Sanzoni. Yeah. Chanelli Nell. My boy Tyrone Scott somewhere rocking the Doogie Dogs. Denzel's in his house. Shacky Shack. And for all the people out there that love us, we love you back. Thank you all. Get ready for an amazing show with the Wolfkeeper. Get ready. Here we go.
Good morning, Billy Bill. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, brother? Toriano, my man. Good to see you.
We are all the way live on Facebook. So how we're doing this now, this broadcast is brought to you live on Facebook Live. If you're listening, if you're watching this on Instagram, you might want to jump over to Toriano Sanzoni Facebook Live page. That's the only way you're going to be able to hear the audio, or join in, download the app, Podbean, search for the Wolfkeeper in order to hear myself, my co-host, the beautiful, extraordinary Chanelli Nell. Are you there? Well, we took like a week off, and of course we're gonna start off we're starting September 1st with my guy Billy Schroeder. Did I pronounce your last name right?
You did. Hello. Chanelli, it's nice to meet you, dear.
Chanelli Nell.
That's what is that incorrect? Oh, right on. Are you sure? Okay. Thank you. I am outstanding. Thanks for asking. I'm just really pleased to be here. Out of my skin excited about being here with Toriano and my new friend Chanelli.
Hey, and we talk about a lot of stuff. Billy, I make nicknames for everybody. And Billy Boy, man, Bad Boy Bill, that's gonna be your nickname. I'm the master of nicknames. Bad Boy Bill is a bad boy. What's up?
It fits.
Bad Boy Bill, because Bill is part and a shaker and maker in the credit card processing game. And one might ask, what the heck does credit card processing and dog training even vaguely have to do with one another? And it's not even about credit card processing and dog training. It really has to do with which was a big deal when I first started a long time ago, back in 2000. It was a really big freaking deal to get a credit card machine. Like, I mean, you basically had to show like proof of residency of U.S. citizenship. You basically had to like give a blood sample, go take like a health physical, prove that you weren't a threat against America, right?
Something like that, right?
It wasn't, but it wasn't always easy to get a credit card machine at all. It was like really a big deal. Like you had to jump through because they were so afraid of like fraud and processing. Chanel, is that you moving around over there? I got a lot of static. Yeah. You're so loud. Bill, you always have to bring old Chanel in. She gets a little rambunctious in the morning.
She gets raw? How so?
But I mean, see, it's stuff like that. There she is moving around during my podcast, giving Bill this great intro. She can't just sit down, relax. You're about to learn a whole bunch of stuff. And people, I'm telling you all, tune in right now because you guys are going to learn. It's going to be 45 minutes of just pure, hardcore financial education because I'm bringing you back all the way to 2000 because credit card processing back then was extremely hard. And Bill, we're going to, at any moment in time, just say, Toriano, I'm about to jump in. Just jump in. I'm going to jump in on you because you and I can talk for hours. We've proven that.
Right on.
So,
well, to your point, I mean, really, if you think of, I mean, you guys are younger than I am, but credit card processing really started to come into fruition in the early 80s. And you're right. It was really hard for merchants to get processing because when you put that card down, you know, you're not making a payment for 30 days in some cases. So you're getting a little mini micro loan interest free if you pay it off. And as a merchant, behind the scenes, if you have those capabilities, you can do a lot of shenanigans with that.
People were afraid of fraud because then you have the illicit markets, you know, such as strip clubs, drug dealing, arms dealing, things that you can't do with actual cash that they were actually afraid of too. Am I correct back then?
That was part of it, but initially the bigger part was a merchant using Visa, MasterCard, Discover to give their business a quick cash infusion. So if you were Toriano's, you know, tire repair and you needed an extra $1,000 in your account to pay your bills that month, and you had $1,000 on your card, you could put your own card down and have those monies into your own bank account the next day. And that's not what credit card processing and Visa, MasterCard had in mind when they were formed. So that was a really big thing early on. So that's why you had to exact a pound of flesh and a pint of blood to get approved.
Right. It was not easy. It was not an easy task.
It wasn't
back
easy,
then.
right? I make a joke, but yeah.
No, I mean, it was because I remember as a dog trainer, I mean, I had to fill out this whole thing. I mean, I ended up getting a machine, but then you didn't actually own the machine. You leased the machine. You know, Chanel, did you know any of this? Is this education for you? Now she's gone.
Did you fall asleep?
She fell asleep. But I think I put her on extra mute. But no, that was a big deal. But then it's so fascinating because fast forward now. No, back then you needed so back in the 80s, probably up until I don't know, what would you say, Bill, 2003, 2004? You had to rent the machine, you leased the machine. If you did want to buy the machine flat out, it was like something like $2,000-$3,000.
It was really crazy for the little box, little square box with a remote printer.
Right.
Yeah, that was. Those were today. Those are in the credit card antique Hall of Fame now. But
they're right. They're in
the Trans 330s. Those were called, or the Zon Junior,
which
were so incredibly high. Yeah, because they were so incredibly high tech. Because you could actually make a payment, and within like a minute, a receipt would pop out. A minute.
Right.
And that was fast.
And that was so surreal. Before we get into more of like credit card history, where credit card processing is at now, why the heck you and I are talking to each other. Let's talk about that. You know what's interesting? Let's talk about this though, how we met.
Oh, right on. That's a good story.
That's a super fun story.
So I'll start, and you interrupt, okay?
Absolutely.
So I was at my company, True Harbor Merchant Solutions, was at a Green and Shy event at Hubbard Street.
Shout out to Tony P. Shout out to Tony P.
Tony P. and my man Alton, for sure.
Alton.
It was at the end of the night, and we had our company TMS True Harbor had sponsored the event partially, so we had a table, and we were meeting some people and having fun. And so I'm leaving, and Toriano meets me in the stairwell and introduces himself, and I start talking about credit card processing, and he goes on this tirade about blockchains and bitcoins, and you take it from there.
I buzzed.
I think you might have been. I think you might have been smoking at the time. I could be wrong, but
we were at a cannabis event. No, I had not engaged in any cannabis, but I definitely was thoroughly inebriated. But within all that, I was still able to bust Bad Boy Bill's brain talking about blockchain. I kept him kidnapped we were literally at the top of some stairs talking about blockchain technology, credit card processing, until who were you with that day? You were like, look, I gotta go. I was like, no, come back here. We went on and on. I'm like,
we were like at the fire escape, and I was getting an education about blockchain, which was cool. It was all good.
I get so excited because it's the wave of our new future. I mean, there's so many just different ways. Because we deal with money every day. I mean, right now, due to this craziness with COVID, social unrest across the country, Portland's on fire, Kenosha, freaking Wisconsin's on fire right now. Minnesota had a fucking riot last week. Some guy shot himself in the head in the middle of Nicollet Mall, which is equivalent to Miracle Mile. I mean, Chicago was, so
crazy.
With all this, we're still about, and I love you got it right behind you, the big old Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. You still got that.
The Benjamins.
It's about the Benjamins with all that. So tell us about your company before we go deeper into this whole why you and I are talking today.
Sure. So, yes, True Harbor Merchant Solutions is a credit card processor. Myself and my partners established our company back in 2016. Rich and Michelle. Hi, Rich and Michelle, if you're watching.
Rich and Michelle.
And anyways, we had been in this space for many years, and we just came up with the thought that in cannabis, that whether it was at that point in time or eventually in time, that dispensaries and merchants in general, whether you're online or face to face, are going to need help in taking payments. And with it being then and kind of now too, kind of an all cash business, we saw a need. And so we launched in Colorado Springs back then, and we made some traction, but we just didn't have a lot to sell at the time. So we're based out of Chicago, so we kind of put the cannabis on hold for a couple of years. And with Illinois going legal last year, it just made sense for us to give it another shot. And here we are. We are now a full service sales office that's exclusively for the cannabis industry, where we can process for dispensaries, and we have capabilities for banking. And I mean, these are all workarounds, mind you, but they do work and they're effective. And the long and short of it is that we're helping folks that they couldn't do it before, that can now do it. So. And really, that to answer your question, kind of in a roundabout way, Toriano, that's what we're up to.
Billy Bill, are you a cannabis smoker? Do you indulge in the extracurriculars?
That's an interesting question. Without getting too personal, don't
feel bad. Chanel's over there lighting up as we speak, so don't you even worry about it. That's why she's all that confusion's going on over there.
Is that right? Are you sure? Okay, I believe you. To answer your question, I mean, and I'm of that generation that you left home, went to college. Well, if you went to college, you were going there to smoke pot and drink beer, right? And this was back like in the late 70s, early 80s, when that was really kind of taboo. So that was my, and I, that evolved into my young adult life. But a few years back, I just kind of made the decision that I don't need it medicinally, and it's not helping me. It's not helping me earn the Benjamins. So, I just kind of made a decision to stop, which is really interesting because I'm probably one of the few business owners in this space that doesn't.
In the words of the great philosopher Eazy-E, don't get high on your own supply. So.
Oh, there you go. Great line from Scarface too, Michelle Pfeiffer.
We've been dropping punchlines all day. So the thing that's exciting about with your company though is that, which I think would be fascinating for the listeners, is that credit card, before we talk about credit card processing for the cannabis industry, which is killing it in Illinois right now, there's 40 individuals that were awarded licenses back in 2014, along with for dispensaries, and 20 individuals that were awarded licenses for cultivation centers that are making collectively, I mean, a whole bunch of money every month. I mean, close to probably, I don't know, in the hundreds of $1 million per year. I mean, they're anticipating close to over $1.2 billion this year alone, just in Illinois cannabis sales. And that doesn't even include the new licenses once they come out, which will be another 75 dispensary licenses, 40 cultivation centers, and unlimited infusion licenses to make edibles or other things that you would make with the cannabinoid, and then unlimited transportation licenses. Before we talk about, credit card processing and licensing, what would be interesting to anyone that's out there, because one thing that has kept coming up with all our podcasts is people doing online businesses. And I would say that I don't care if it was COVID or not, everyone should be making at least $1,000 to $10,000 per month online. But now there's so many different ways to process. I mean, you got Zelle, you got Venmo, you got Cash App, Pocket Suite,
right.
PayPal. Bill, let me ask you this. My question for you is, I mean, for the listeners, because some people just, like the other day, someone, which I was shocked but not shocked because someone didn't know about Cash App. So do you see, is there going to be a tap out point where there'll be no more brand new inventions as far as digital acceptance of currency, or is that just, is going to be multitudes of them?
Well, I mean, it's like anything. It's competition, where, a handful of companies like Zelle or PayPal are, make a go at it. There's always going to be those entrepreneurs that have a bigger, better mousetrap.
Right.
But, to Shanelli's point, I mean, I think that I don't want to live in a world, to be honest with you, that doesn't have the Benjamin still in it. Okay. But I think that, maybe another generation from now, perhaps that might happen. And it'll be, and there's all kinds of conspiracy theories and biblical stuff you can talk about when they talk about taking, our currency away from that aspect, and Big Brother and all that other bullshit that's out there. But I think that I actually think that those apps are necessary, and will more come up like the, daisies in the field maybe. But for now, at least for the solution that we're selling pretty aggressively to dispensaries, it was patterned actually after PayPal with the same technology, but specifically for the cannabis. So it's really an interesting time electronically in this space, man. That's for sure. Because of all the cash apps that are out there today, and so easy to transfer money from one place to another. So, I mean, we have systems in place now, actually, Toriano, that for a grower and a dispensary that have a relationship to where that under my system, to where a dispensary can transfer money to the grower on a monthly basis up to $100,000 per incidence for free.
So, Bill, before we get too deep into it, I love talking about cannabis. I started a company called Dendira, which we applied for our cannabis dispensary license and our craft cultivation license.
That's this week, right? Maybe?
Fingers crossed. We find out about that. It was actually supposed to be awarded May 1st. Well, just backing up for people that aren't aware, Illinois legalized cannabis. Governor J.B. Pritzker legalized it almost less than 2 years ago, and then immediately they released the applications last October. So 4,000 people created. No, take that back. 700 people created about 4,000 to 5,000 applications. And of those applications, 75 will be picked for the dispensary, and about half of that was for the cultivation license. It was one of the most difficult applications. It's basically essentially was 26 applications in one application, because you needed basically about 26 different experts to create this application, along with two. The price of putting together an application could vary as low. I've heard people pay nothing because they try to do it themselves, up to her people. Highest I heard was $700,000, but on average was about $150,000 to complete this application, because everyone wants to get into this space of dispensaries. And for some people that don't know, is that because cannabis is not legal across the country, you can't go to just Chase and open up a bank and put the money into the bank. It's all as of right now, it's all cash industry. But Bill, Bad Boy Bill here, you guys have created a technology that will allow. So Chanel just opens up her new dispensary, Chocolate Dream dispensary, right? You can then perform the credit card processing for her, which that's the fascinating thing about it, is that just how just the technology in general is there, but the technology then, whoever thought that, and this, I want to touch on two things which We're going to talk about finance, but then we're also going to talk about the people that were most affected by the war on drugs in the neighborhoods that were decimated through drugs. One being mine, North Lawndale, which was decimated by the war on drugs. But now the cannabis industry, here's this $1 billion industry making all this money. And now you've created a way to even capture more of that money through credit card processing. So let's talk about how is that even possible? Because that's the thing that's mind-boggling, how that's capable to process money and put it into, because I'm sure it has to be swiped and that money goes into a bank, but it's still not legal. You know, how do you get around like FDA regulations and things like that?
Sure.
FDIC, I'm sorry.
So feel free to interrupt me. Let's have a conversation here, okay? I mean, we, again, back a few years ago, we just saw a need for being able to process at this level. And as I mentioned, my partners and myself, you know, we've been in this space for a long time. So we had a lot of connections in that way. So we've spent about the last easily 12 months, maybe longer, just looking at various different solutions and brainstorming with the powers to be and some of the money people on how to get this to work. So your roundabout question really is how can we do it? And again, I used this word once before and I'll use it again so everybody watching and listening is clear. What we're doing is a workaround. We can have conversations with, banks and other people in this space that don't necessarily agree with us. We will tell them straight away that it's a workaround. And to that end, the software that we are a part of and a small part helped develop, the key to the program, because there have been a couple that have failed. Last summer, Greenbox and Elevon were two huge players in this space that went down virtually overnight and shut down. They got shut down. Over 60,000 merchants in about a 30-day period. You can imagine one day you're processing, the next day you're not. And oh, by the way, where's the money you owe me, right? From those deposits. So, but the problem, my opinion, with those solutions is that they weren't 100% disclosure. So this solution and the technology behind it was designed similarly to PayPal, functions the same way. It doesn't run on the same road or path, we call it rails, that Visa, MasterCard, Discover runs on in a disguised way. You were asking me when we first met about Bitcoins and about electronic wallets. Those are disguised. They put it in a wallet, electronic wallet. That's disguised so that it can still run on the Visa, MasterCard road, and they don't know what it is. That's not what this is. Those have more of a tendency to get shut down. And ours doesn't, again, because of the nature of it, is because it's, and I've said it before, not to be redundant, but it's 100% disclosure. Everybody involved knows what it is.
Bad boy
That's
Bill.
the
So
reality.
I have a question. Chanelli Nell, are you there? She keeps, I don't know what she's doing over there. I'm just curious. I was gonna use her as a chime in. How much of this is just complete Greek to you right now? And
I'm trying to dumb it down. I mean, no offense. I'm trying to make it simple as possible.
Well, and the reason why
You asked a complicated question, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, no, I know that, and that's where I I love this to be edutainment and bringing people to understand. Because one might ask, well, Toriano, what does that have to do with dog training? But as being an entrepreneur, there's so much back end to what we do. If you're an owner of whatever, whether you're making cookies, whether you're doing dog training, whether you're doing real estate, whatever, and
doesn't matter, right?
Credit card processing is just the way we accept money. So like for example, I'm using Zelle. I use a program called Pocket Suite. I'm using Venmo. I'm using PayPal. I'm using Stripe. I have 5 digital platforms in which to take money because I have different clients that have different preferences, right? Where I'm not going to say, oh, no, I can't take your money because I don't use Stripe, or I don't use PayPal, or I don't use Zelle, or I don't use Venmo, or I don't use Cash App, or I don't use Pockets. So I think that a person, I don't know if you do this at all, but I mean, I saw, when you and I meeting and then moving forward, if anyone's out there, I'm sure for the right amount, I mean, you could do a consultation with them, but I would encourage business owners, even people that aren't business owners, understand how money works and understand how digital money works, especially right now with COVID, because Chanel I want to say that you are on to, will it ever happen when we never see a Benjamin in our hands? Is the coin shortage real? It's definitely becoming harder. I mean, there's places that are saying no. Well, more.
I do not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and more and more people.
I mean, to
no, I was going to say more and more people definitely aren't using. More and more people definitely aren't using cash. That's for sure. But then I would say also too, it's way. And now, I mean, there's stores due to COVID they're saying we're not using cash because they don't want. They're trying to reduce whatever the germs. Or they're trying to reduce the cross contamination. So it's swipe only. Some of them don't have to swipe anymore. They have just wave it over. Depending on where you go and where their technology. I was at Fogo de Chao, and they came out with this folder. This the receipt folder, but the receipt folder was like the total cash thing. You had to stick your phone. He sat it on the table and was like, whenever you're ready. Or even better, I was at another place this weekend, Saturday, and then they just when you scanned the menu, you also after you got done with your food, you received a link. And you paid through the link, so it was they're not touching anything. So there's so many. I think if people don't understand how their money's going to be processed, you can really get. I get kind of sad for people when I hear them not understanding. Like, I only take Zelle, or I want Cash App, or I want PayPal, or I want this or this. And if you don't understand how they work, then you might get a little. Would you agree with that, Bill, or is that?
I would.
Am I thinking about it? Am I thinking about it too deep?
Not really. I mean, no, it's okay. Well, well, let's not shed a tear quite yet for the banks, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you in regards to. I would hate to see the teller go away. I would hate that, but I think that sometimes. I mean, I come from a generation where I had an actual banker, a guy I could call, right? And say, hey, Ron, I need help. I need this, I need that, and he'd help me. Now it's all pushed to the 800 number. And especially now with COVID, you have to do all your business from your car. You have to actually talk to a banker on site. So sadly, I could see that stuff probably going away. But what I caught myself doing the other day for the first time ever, out of fear really, is I had a small, whatever it was, a couple of dollars, and I didn't want to use my credit card, so I paid by cash, and I didn't take my change back. I had to think about it for a second. I was concerned, but I didn't know where that change was. It's in that it's in that world of change, that's in and out of everyone's pockets all day long. So I just refused to buy change. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, but I never, who does that, right?
No, I mean, and there's so many different, like I was someplace the other day and they were like, we don't have change. So they just rounded it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're at definitely a different place, when it comes to money. I think, Bill, do you do consultations for individuals at all?
Absolutely.
I mean, because I love these podcasts. I'm always bragging to Chanel that we have created one of the best new companies ever, because it really is its own company in itself, because we get to meet cool, awesome people like you. And then we get to, you and I have talked probably collectively at least 10, 12 hours. Easy. Like we talked 2 hours yesterday.
Mm-hmm. When I could get you on the phone, yeah.
You can get me on the phone. Right. But come on now. We've gone to lunch. We've had a nice Italian lunch together.
I did that. He blew that off too.
Will you tell him I'm not a multi?
We had a beautiful lunch at this little Italian joint.
I took Bill out on a date. I took him out on a date. We had a great freaking lunch.
We did.
No, but we talked money, and I really want people. I mean, I'm just talking about my own education. Like I swear now it seems like every 4 or 5 months there's a new way to process and take money, and there's a new way that you're going to have to pay vendors money. You would not be doing the wrong thing. It would not be a waste of your time to find out how that works, because along with that too, a thing that's happening is a lot of credit card fraud, which we talked about earlier, why it was so difficult in the beginning to get a credit card machine back in the 80s until the late 90s, and then those things became dinosaurs. But now, especially with these PPP loans and all this government assistance and stuff, a lot of banks are flagging checking accounts and shutting them down. So you have to probably understand. Like I had a friend the other day, he's like, oh my God, they locked up my whole account because his Amazon had got compromised and this had got compromised. Well, I tell people you should have a junk credit card that if it gets compromised, it's not the end of the world, and a junk account that you're constantly putting into the internet, because it goes back to what we were talking about, Bill, and we're going to segue into the cannabis world. But I mean, a lot can go wrong with an ice cream shop taking credit card payments nowadays.
Exactly.
With the security, have you seen an increase with security threats right now in the days of COVID?
Not necessarily threats, but I've definitely seen the compliance piece, making sure everybody's following the rules. The kind of like the police of credit cards, they call it compliance. That piece definitely being kicked up a notch, just to because the credit card usage. I mean, to Nellie's point, is that's all she uses, that's all she carries. I mean, people were the debit card before COVID was about 80% of the way we spent our money. Now, all in, if I would hazard a guess, I'd say it's about 90 credit cards, debit cards, everything all together. So yes, the processors are making more, but it does create a bigger opportunity for the hackers of the world to take advantage of the situation as well. I heard a statement the other day: crime doesn't give a shit about COVID.
Crime doesn't. That's amen. How you know what? I heard a stat. Man, it was something stupid. You might know this, Bill, because it's your industry. But the amount of credit card fraud per year, it was something ridiculous. You know what that stat is?
It's a big number. It's over 100 million a year. It's a big number.
Right. That's where people, because I just got scammed. It was some weird shoe company that it was only $50, but I mean, it wasn't worth me fighting the $50. But if they're out there doing $50 to 100,000 people, it all.
Right.
And Chanel is always buying. Chanel, didn't you get scammed on some sex toys last week? Something that happened? Can
we meet one of these times?
The name of your
on Toriano, right? Exactly.
The name of your company's Chocolate Dream. What do you expect? What am I? How do I?
Brutal.
And for those people that are watching us live on Instagram, that we are doing a new format. So if you want to join in and hear what we're talking about with Chanel Nell, you have to then log in to Podbean, or you have to go to my Facebook Live. And thank you for everyone out there that's watching. Please reshare this broadcast. It's fun. We're talking about people. I mean, we had a guest, Galik Sadiq, who goes as the Sharpness. She's a financial advisor, super smart person. I just remember as I'm talking to you, I need to call her. That's another person that's working with our team. But she said an amazing thing, that money is an emotional experience, and then credit card processing, because it's easier to swipe and not, sometimes you're swiping, like, oh wow, I just spent X amount of money. But moving forward in the future, now we have all these different ways to swipe and process, and now you want to make it easier for people to, because as of right now, you have to, bring cash to a dispensary, or they have these different kind of credit, like one dispensary went one place, showed your ID, made the credit card payment, took that receipt, went to another place to get it. So they were using credit, but in a different. There's going to be.
It's like a hand-to-hand combat, like arm wrestling, trying to make your purchase. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's horrible, and those are the we were joking before about the Bitcoin and the blockchain. Those are those solutions where they can make it happen, but for the consumer and the merchant, they have to jump through a lot of hoops to make it work. So it's almost at the dispensary level to say, screw it. I don't want to. I'd rather just take cash because it's not worth it. But I mean, to your point, and just from before, it is a tremendous risk for dispensaries. I mean, what was in Illinois here was. I want to say January the 7th or 8th, one of the dispensaries was hit for $50,000-$60,000. So 5-6 days into, it being recreational. So
and that was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, exactly.
I mean, since COVID, at least 4 or 5 have been hit since COVID.
Exactly, and that's why we're so excited at True Harbor, because we really have some safe solutions for the dispensary owners and the growers. Because let's face it, these growers take cash, and somebody's driving around, scary thought, with a garbage bag full of cash and or weed with their little tag on that gives them identification in case they get pulled over, right? But the long and short of it is, if they get held up, could fear for their life.
Well, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I want people to reach out to you. We'll share your Rejoice. If you can reshare Bill's website on our Facebook now, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. But
and
also
LinkedIn, if you don't mind,
and on her LinkedIn to share it so people can reach out to him for just a counsel. I would encourage people to talk to Bill just as a consultation. He's a financial guru, mastermind. But then also too, talking about dispensaries, let's segue and spend the rest of the time, because believe it or not, we've just easily chewed up 42 minutes. And we also too, I want to talk about Carly Simon, Bill's ex-girlfriend.
In my dreams.
I'm busting everybody out today. No one is safe. No one is safe today.
No one's safe.
That's just it. I tell them all. I say too much.
Okay, so I was primping before, right? Before we started, right? And we were just talking. He was primping. I don't have his hair, and I mentioned the Carly Simon tune. You're so vain. I bet you think that song is about you. And that was the rumor is that she wrote that about Mick Jagger.
You
Got one eye in the mirror. You're so vain. I bet you think the song is about you. There it is. And she told me that story. We were on a date once, and Carly told me that story.
Chanel, can you sing that?
Wow. Right on key. Good job.
I love that. I love that line. I bet you think that song is but let's talk. So cannabis industry, part of why it is pushed back, they won't say it, but this is my stance on it, is because George Floyd, civil unrest across the country, across the world, currently right now, all 40 dispensaries, none of them are a person of color owned and operated. None of them are black owned at all. And some of them are in black historical neighborhoods, such as North Lawndale. There's not any contribution from those that industry to get back to the areas that have been impacted the most. And what I mean by that is one of the people I grew up with spent 3 months in Cook County jail over $200 worth of cannabis. And the full story is, yes, he had a prior record. Yes, he has sold near a school. But as a taxpayer, I don't want to spend money to prosecute him, even if it was $1,000 of cannabis. Even if it was $2,000, but it wasn't. It was him out there selling little bags of cannabis. But the cost of surveillance on him, putting him in the car, bringing him to the police station, processing him, having him sit in Cook County, public defendant, getting out, waste of money. And that's just one of many people that have served time over something now that is legal to sell. And the owners of these industries, of these companies, haven't given back in a real way, not enough to impact and not enough to not have me say something about it or anyone. Not when you're making that kind of money, and not when you can't have a North Lawndale when you're making that much money from a substance that was illegal and locked many people up.
Right on to that point. I mean, I don't know the circumstances to the story you're talking about, so I can't really comment one way or another, but I can say that post George Floyd, my eyes have been definitely open. Conversations that you and I've had, talking to other members of my sales team in regards to a certain naivete level that I had for sure prior to that happening. And to that point, is that we're now getting involved in social equity pieces where we would have before, but not as aggressively because we just didn't know what you just said, didn't realize it, about about dispensary owners on the west and the south side not being owners of color, and how important that is to the big picture.
Well, let me put you on the spot, Bill, because I know your company also too. If there's people out there, when they get their licenses, your company has the capability of financing someone that will need help, right? So, which would make you part owner of that company. You as a white male American, when you're put in that situation of extreme power because they're making a lot of money, money's power, how would you give back to an area such as North Lawndale, which the average income per year is $13,000, and you have people that are living without a grocery store, a banking system, no sit-down restaurants pre-COVID for the last 64 years. What would be your give back? So
I would address that in a couple different ways. First off would be probably in conversations, Toriano, that you and I have had, that one Cradle to College was one. There's other social equity pieces that like that. Feed My Starving Children is another one that True Harbor is getting involved in as well. But I mean, and my thought, just not randomly, but thought that I've been giving, that I've been digesting recently, is to how we could potentially put some people to work as my company gets bigger, and to give it back that way. There's a great saying, my dad said it to me years ago, and I'm sure everyone listening has probably heard it, that you give a man a fish, he eats for the day. You teach him to fish, he eats for the rest of his life. And that, to answer your question, I mean, that's what I would, in the big picture, like to see happen. Okay. For my company, other than just making donations, but really, truly trying to, get to a position where we can help change people's lives, like you said, based on the monies that we're able to make based on what we're selling. So so I like what you said, teach a man to fish. So would you take on some at-risk youth from communities such as North Lawndale or Inglewood or Chatham or any of those areas as interns? I would. There would be understand that, like in any business, there would be qualifications, obviously, but that anybody would have to meet. But yes, I would. That's all. I mean, and that's the thing too, that we need more of that, because I think, part of, we had COVID, and one part of the issues of, disease is disease. There's always going to be some new disease. But then why America got to the point where it's at right now with all the social unrest and, us being in a depression, how we got into a depression, the banking crash in '08, the music crash in '01, is because people really get trapped in their own bubbles and are selfish and don't give to those that don't have as much. It don't feel like they're connected. Because it's easy to be, in a suburb, with your car and your home, and that it's happening, that it's wrong, but it's kind of a different thing when you're that person that's actually in it. And I feel like it is a responsibility for us too. We have to, out of sight, out of mind. But until like other companies that have the power to Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, and post George Floyd, I mean, yeah. I mean, sure, I grew up, born and raised in Chicago. We knew what the bad parts of the city were, where you wanted to go and where you didn't want to go. But now it's a whole different mindset. Because you're right. We live in the suburbs, and, we were oblivious is the wrong word, maybe just ignoring the situation, knowing that it's there, but ignoring it, not realizing the intensity of the situation that people of color in the city, in their daily lives, have to live. 95, I shouldn't give a percentage because I don't know, but a big percentage because of the color of their skin. That's wrong in so many ways, brother. And it's a real thing, because someone asked me, I made a statement on my podcast on Saturday with Dr. Lisa Helke from Gustavus Adolphus College. And I told her, I said, I know that I've been stopped in the last 20 years about 75 times. And then someone asked, like, are you sure? You dead serious? I'm like, I can go get a 20-year-old that will tell you that he's been stopped more times than that, for sure. And then I can say this year alone, I've been stopped 3 times in just 2020. And one of them was post George Floyd on my block. Chanel was there. We're at my park hanging out, and a white officer came up to me specifically and asked me if I had spray painted a Christopher Columbus statue. Did you?
I was caught off guard. I didn't know if to be sarcastic. I'm like, nah,
Right.
I really,
Right.
I would.
You did it.
Right, I did it. The night before, I went with my black mask on, my gloves. But I mean, it's the reality of I have a better. I think there should be no more protests and riots. I think that every black male should get his own personal bodyguard. I want the government to pay for it. That would make me happy.
Taxpayer funded.
I just want my own Secret Service agent. Yeah, they were like 40 acres and the mule. Just give me one. I want my own personal Secret Service agent.
Toriano for president. How about that?
Hey, I could see it. I'd make some things happen. Hey, I'd legalize it right away. We make some money. So, Bill, and as we're wrapping this up here, where is the best place for a person to find you? And I want to reiterate that you're totally cool, because I want to tell people, I mean, we're not even touching the surface of how much is going on with your company and what you guys can do. But where is the best place for someone to find you?
Well, I would say probably at our website. Well, LinkedIn is my home, okay? And I'm at WF Schroeder Jr. on LinkedIn. And that's really the best way to reach me. I could give you my cell phone number, but if that blows up, I wouldn't respond as quickly as I would on LinkedIn.
Okay. So that's not the best.
And of course, our website to check us out is trueharbor.net, and that's a True Harbor with no E.
Check you out there.
You can check us out there.
Because you have so much information. I hope everyone learned something today about that. I mean, money, you can't get around it. It's here to stay, right? It comes in handy, and it's changing how we collect it, we process it, whether for the cannabis industry, whether it's for a grocery store, whatever. I mean, you really have to keep up with it, because, we might go, a lot of people have, if you say blockchain, people have no idea what blockchain is or understand Bitcoin technology, or, you send them this payment link and they're like, can I just bring you cash?
What's that? Right, exactly.
I don't know how to I understand Cash App, but I just, can you Cash App me? Like, no, do you Zelle? It's like battle of the payments. Like, can I Zelle you? Oh man, Zelle. Why can't you Cash App me? Oh, 'cause I don't like Cash App. Can you all right, and some grandma's still sending checks in the mail to their grandkid. Like, here you go. Did you get the $5 in the mail? Right.
You're preaching to the choir, brother. I can embrace the technology, but God forbid something goes wrong. My tolerance is about 30 seconds. After that, it's like, move on to the next thing.
Wow. Well, man, Bill, I want to thank you for real from having me, being able to talk to you. And we're gonna let's go ahead.
Can I conclude with my eagle?
Yeah. Oh, tell us about the eagle in the background. What's the deal with the eagle?
Okay.
I forgot we were supposed to talk about that eagle. What is it?
I know, right? You need a better producer.
Shit. Ooh. Throwing shots at Chanelli now.
No, I'm just kidding. Nothing. My partners, Rich and Michelle, I mentioned them earlier. We are of a certain mindset that that the eagle is really one of the most beautiful and majestic and most powerful birds.
Right.
And we've based really our company on the attributes of an eagle. And this one in particular is inscribed with a verse I just love this verse. It's Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And here at True Harbor and Bill Schroeder, in my world, we soar with the eagles, brother. We close the door on fear, jealousy, hatred, greed, revenge, and we embrace all the positive: desire, faith, love, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. That's the way we roll, man.
And you really do, man, because like I said, I met you, it was instant bromance. Like I said, we're sitting in the hall talking, so you were like, I gotta go. And then I've been so swamped. You stayed with me, man, and hunted me down. Like, hey, why am I like calling you? I'm doing your show. And then we talked for like 2 hours yesterday, and we're talking today. So you're just a solid guy. You're a good buddy. You're a great friend. And I want to encourage people to reach out to you. Dog business, because dog people in our business, a lot of people aren't tech savvy and can use help. So you're a great resource. Or if you're starting a business, you're a great person to talk to. And like I said, in all our podcasts, especially the ones we're talking to, the entrepreneurs, do something where you're making $1,000 to $10,000 online doing something, and Bill is someone that can help you get through that. So thank you so much, Bill. Thank you for everyone out there.
About you, it's a pleasure to be on your show. I know you're up against it. And Chanelli, if I can call you that, it was really nice talking to you. I hope to meet you one of these days.
You over a date, Bill?
Still there? I had a call that came through. So anyways, it's really good connecting with the two of you. And let's stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I need for you to do right now.
Thank you guys for listening to the Wolfkeeper podcast. We'll talk to you all later. Peace and love.
Your day before you go into 12 o'clock.